2, registering a credible business. So this is really for anyone that wants to set up a new business, or if you're a new business owner, right? So let's continue. So before you can build business credit or apply for funding, you need to get registered, get the EIN and address, right? Also keep in mind anything you keep may result, like anything you spend on, right, may result in like a tax write-off, whatever. Talk to a CPA regarding tax questions. Always consider saving your receipts if you want to do that, right? It's not necessary though. Now, essentials for funding, these are the things you must have. So the business address, your EIN and business docs, the phone number. It's okay if you're using a personal. You want your email, right? It's okay if you're using Gmail. They understand that there are many home-based businesses, but again, the more professional you make it with these, less of a hassle you get. The merchant processor, right? And then this is recommended but not always required for funding, but it does help, right? So the website, the domain name, your logo, an email that uses the professional domain. And if you don't know what the domain name is, this is what a domain is. So bizcredit.com, right? That's the domain name. Or google.com, right? That's their domain name, for example, right? Anyways, Google My Business or an other business listing website. You don't always necessarily have to list it, but if you do, it helps, right? Accounting software or CPA to prep taxes, right? You're going to want to start tracking your financials or consider it. So when you're naming and registering the business, there's a couple things you want to consider. So certain industries can be considered high risk, meaning some businesses get auto denied based on the name alone, or they're just less likely to get approved. So if your business name includes words like credit repair, crypto investments, trading, or just anything that hints that you may be in a high risk industry, even if you're not in a high risk industry, right? You may get automatic rejections, regardless of the whatever, right? And it's just because of the name. So you're gonna want to choose a broad, abstract, general term, like general terms when you're creating your business. That's what I recommend, right? Try not to stick to one specific industry, because then, as I mentioned, you're going to limit yourself, right? You could limit yourself. So for example, this is, I don't think this would be even if you own a plumbing company, probably not the best. Uncle Bob 24-hour plumbing LLC. Like you're forcing yourself to be stuck in plumbing forever with this company, right? So a better option. Oh, and so another thing: do not use keywords that may that make people think that you may be selling these things or in a restricted industry. So adult entertainment, firearms, cannabis, tobacco, money services, gambling. The list goes on. I have a full breakdown of high risk industries in the bonuses that you can read about, or you can Google it. But anyways, point is, this is a good naming idea: Blue Ocean Inc., right? Red Ocean LLC, etc., etc. If you need help coming up with names, you can use an AI generator like ChatGPT, namelix.com, lean domain search. This is the reason I like lean domain search is like it also lets you know if the domain's available. So like let's just say um, Blue Garden LLC is the name of your LLC. Well, you can see if the domain itself is available, the .com. I guess it's so only My Blue Garden's available, but sometimes it'll say like, oh, that domain. Oh no, it is here, bluegardenllc.com. So you can register that. It doesn't necessarily always have to be the name of the business, but I mean, if you can add congruency, whatever, right? It helps. But point is, there's tons of different ways to name it, to get the domain, right? It doesn't matter. Now, I mean, it does matter. I guess the main important thing is like doing a general name. What I'm saying is like the domain name, it doesn't have to necessarily match 100% what the business name is, right? It can be like a general, just a general name, right? And then the domain name can, because like literally, like this is a good example. Businesscreditkit.com isn't the actual name of my business, but again, it's an asset for the business. Anyways, point is, getting a little too deep into it, but just use one of these to create the LLC. Worry about all the other fancy marketing stuff later, whatever. Now, business address. If your business doesn't have a physical address, it's okay to use your home address. As I mentioned, do not use virtual. Virtual addresses cause auto denials. The reasoning behind it is theoretically you can go to iPostal or Regis, pay for a subscription, right? And get approved for all these loans, and then um, cancel the subscription to the virtual address. And because it's a virtual, and not a physical, it's going to be very difficult to find you, right? And again, that's the theory behind it. And those things have happened in the past, right? Before they had all these fraud prevention methods. So that's why now banks, they just do not like virtual. They won't even mess with it. They'll just deny you, right? So use physical, even if it's a home address. Home addresses are fine because there are now a lot of home based businesses. These banks are starting to understand that there's e-commerce, influencers, like that stuff is starting to become more valid, right? Who cares what people opinion is on it? This is just the truth. Business, like the banks are starting to understand that there are very different forms of new age businesses, right? Now, what your opinion is on whether it is or isn't a business doesn't matter, right? I'm just letting you know that's how the banks see it. So, home addresses are okay. Brick and mortar, of course, is fine, right? Because you have the leasing agreement. However, virtual addresses or co ops, like co sharing spaces, that's a no go. They will just deny you. Now, registering your business, right? So you want to have the name ready and you want to have the address ready that you want to use. So first, let's address this, right? Make sure all your docs are set up in a consistent manner. This is not tax advice. The entity type does not affect how credible or fundable your business is. So whether you do an LLC or a corporation, partnership, it doesn't matter. The only thing the entity type affects is your taxes. So you're going to want to consult with a CPA if you're not sure what entity type to pick. If you just get too hung up on that, just make a decision, right? Whatever it is, just make it. Um, so yeah, again, do your research. I'm not going to tell you which is better, which isn't, because personally, I just set up an LLC when I was like 21, I think, or 22. Um, and if you were to ask me why, I would have just been like, well, I don't know. I just needed a business. That's how far I thought when I was younger. So my point is, don't get hung up on it, right? It only affects your tax situation. Just make a decision, and you'll know what that is for you. Like you know what is right for you, right? Now, there's a couple ways to get the business registered. You can do it yourself, and there's a few ways to do it yourself. The first option is just type in your state name, corporate commission, or state name, Secretary of State business search, or any of these search terms, right? So register a business here in Arizona. Takes you immediately to the Arizona Corporate Commission, right? Register a business in Delaware, for example, right? Sponsored. Register and license your business.gov website. This is the Delaware website. Let's click on it. And it just gives you the rules, right? You're going to want to read through the rules. Every state is different. That's why I'm not going to go and make 50 different videos. And on top of that, there are always rule changes, right? Um, so this is just something that you're going to have to kind of keep up on your own and just learn your state, right? I wish there was more I can give you, but I can just show you how to do it like this, just to get your feet wet. Let's do Florida Corporate Commission. You see, Division of Corporations. So as you can see, that search term works. Or what's the other one? The Secretary of State. Hold on. State start business here. What's another one? New York Secretary of State, and then boom. So what you want to do? Oh, what the heck? Some websites aren't the best. Here we go. Let's click on this one. Okay, exit. And there you are. You just want to go around. And one thing you're doing, by the way, is sometimes you need to see if the business is available. So you would go look up a business, typically name, and then if it doesn't come up, so like El Gato Enterprises LLC. So it'll give you all the ones that have that, but if it doesn't necessarily match directly to this, then that means usually it's available. Other websites are a little bit more, what's it called? It's a little bit more in your face. It'll just say like couldn't return a value, whatever. Point is, you want to make sure the name's available as well before you do any sort of registering. and then you just follow the website steps, right? Or you can use these websites, Inkfile or Swift Filings. This costs money, but again, it's basically like getting someone to do it for you, but you're still doing it yourself in a way. Do it for you, hire CPA or attorney. They can help with legal and tax structure. If you do it yourself, it's cheap, but the potential, if you do it yourself, is loss of tax benefits and open to legal risk, right? So again, everything's a trade-off. You're going to have to make a decision on your own. I'm not going to tell you do this or do that because again, um, you'll know what's right for you. So now business address, as I mentioned, no virtual. Do not use virtual. I'm going to continue to harp on it, right? But no virtual. Get your EIN. Once you registered everything, you got your articles of incorporation, all that. You go to the government website like irs.gov. It is free to get an EIN. You don't need to pay anyone. Generally, if you hire a CPA or you go to Swift Filings, they're going to just automatically get it for you. But you go here, how it works, apply for an EIN. Make sure you have your articles of organization or incorporation, whatever it is, next to you, and whatever it says for like the address, the name, the owner, you just copy it into here. So that way it's all consistent, right? There is no mismatches. And again, you can just go to IRS EIN as well if you want to just go to the direct link yourself, right? Or get an EIN. And then boom, there it is, irs.gov. Okay. So if you don't want to click on the link or whatever, but there it is. That's how you find it. So again, there it is. Use the address on your articles, the name, make it all match. Get a merchant processor. So here are the different. I'll fix the view how it views, but like I think you can also view it here, the table. But basically, the main difference between the third party processors, so like QuickBooks, versus a traditional merchant is generally instant approvals. It's just a subscription. With the traditional merchants, it's a six. Usually, you need a 690 plus, 680 plus, right? Um, Generally, you can build a better relationship with the banks because you're going to usually be having a personal banker, right? They're going to be helping you with transactions and you can build that relationship versus this. You're going to generally need to be transacting very large amounts all the time for them to even consider you a premium client, right? That's just how it is. But yeah, high risk industries, you may have to find a specialized one. Okay. Now, final thoughts: which you choose. Generally, if you have good credit, you want to build strong relationships. Your local business, consider traditional, right? If you're more like e-com, maybe in the high risk industry, things like that, you could consider third party processors because they usually just waive those things because you're just paying them for the subscription. You know what I'm saying? Generally, I like to use both so I can have like what's it called? I can have backups in case something happens, right? So now that that's done, you go to section 3, and this is to finalize everything, okay? So you'll be able to finalize your profile, and then this is when everyone kind of just groups up again, like existing owners and new business owners, okay? If you want, you can read about these common mistakes as well. But yeah, basically, this is your next step.